Hey, this is Ed Mills with Colorado Broadband Office. We have our staff here, Anthony, Tony, Neil Graves, and Sarah Smith, and also Kim Coleman-Madison. And we also have on the line with us Bob Escal, and we're excited to bring you this Lunch and Learn. Colorado Broadband Office is pleased to bring you the Lunch and Learn series, and what we do is we feature different manufacturers, application providers, anyone who has a solution for public safety. And today we're going to hear about the XP5 feature phone, the XP8 smart device, and I understand too, Bob may be talking about the new XP3. Sonim Technologies for over a decade has been designing rugged LTE handsets specifically designed for public safety. And I know as a first responder, they meet the needs that I have on a day-to-day basis. Sonim has supported the state of Colorado public safety since 2015. They provided us devices for the FIS World Ski Championship and have been supporting our efforts ever since. During this Lunch and Learn, we'll learn about Sonim's phones, as I mentioned. And I consider our presenter, Bob Escal, a colleague and a friend, and he and Sonim have been an important partner to public safety in the state of Colorado, helping us to save more babies, puppies, and kittens. And before I give it over to Bob, just wanted to let you know that we do have a website, and you can find this presentation with all the information as far as PDF. If you will just go to our website, a lot of good stuff there, not only that relates to public safety, but just in general about broadband in the state of Colorado. And so without further ado, Bob, if you're ready, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. And for those of you on the phone, I will be directing the slides, so Bob may have to say, hey, move on or whatever. So, Bob, it's all yours.
Hey, Ed, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. So for everybody that doesn't know me, my name is Bob Escal. I'm Vice President responsible for the public safety market segment for Sonim Technologies. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share a little bit about Sonim Technologies, who we are, a little bit of our history, and some of our product that we have to offer for the public safety, public sector primarily. So, Ed, again, I appreciate the time today, and we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. A little bit about Sonim Technologies. Basically, we've introduced, when Band 14 was a spectrum prior to the entire FirstNet context, we were one of the first devices to be commercially available that supported the Band 14 spectrum in the device. And so we pride ourselves in claiming that and learning a lot along the way about not only Band 14 as a spectrum that's integrated along with other LTE bands, but also performance and everything adjacent with some other bands as well from a commercial carrier standpoint. Next. As Ed pointed out, over a decade, we developed mobile technology by listening, learning, tweaking, and evolving. And so Sonim Technologies has always been prevalent in sort of the ultra-rugged category. We kind of cut our teeth on sort of the iDEN or Nextel transition when Nextel was shutting down and Sprint was closing that down. We started developing and building ultra-rugged 3G phones at the time. But around a dedicated push-to-talk button and push-to-talk in general. And so we cut our teeth on that, and we learned along the way about how to build a better device. We're, I think, the only company out there that I'm aware of that offers a 3-year comprehensive warranty. So in that 3-year time period, we don't care if you break it and drop it or whatever happens to it, we cover it. We either repair or replace it in that 3-year period. Next slide. So again, I think the focus here is, before we entered the public safety segment, we were really focused on the blue and gray collar worker. And that's the industrial worker. That's the worker that works in the factory. That's the worker that's in the hospitality space. Basically, the transportation, hospitality, oil and gas. We were the first smartphone company to have an intrinsically safe device. And so we had our XP7 and our XP6 and partnered with a company called Ecom and had an IS version of smartphone platform. Gold standard for ultra rugged, we feel that there's categories. There's a sort of a consumer, a prosumer, a rugged, and an ultra rugged category. We definitely put ourselves in that ultra rugged category for lots of reasons. And so we'll go over some of those here. And some of those are related to what we call our RPS. Trusted by Fortune 1000 customers, we're in about every vertical sector you can think of. Again, as I pointed out, industrial space, hospitality, transportation, public safety, with some of the major customers being UPS, the U.S. Army, Fairfax County, and some other large transportation organizations. Next. A little bit about Sonim history. Sonim was founded in 1999. We started as a software company. We started in supporting push-to-talk over cellular back when it was still in its infancy days, back when there was a thing called OMA and POC, push-to-talk over cellular, and OMA was the Open Mobile Alliance. And so there was a standards brewing about who was going to win the standards, and whether it was going to be a 3GPP standard or it was going to be an OMA related standard, and then there were some proprietary standards. So we primarily were focused on supporting the OMA standard, and basically kind of lost out in that race to some other standards. And so at the time, we really tried to refocus our efforts on developing hardware at that point in time, again, starting with launching our 3G handset back in 2007, primarily for the European market, and then again in 2009 for the US market. And then some of our first smartphones were put in place in September of 2014. And this is when we started, again, we enabled band 14 in that device. Moving forward, we thought it was an important thing to do for public safety. If we were going to participate in the space, band 14 was an absolute necessary. And then in 2018, we officially launched our new flagship product, the XP8, a smartphone platform, and our feature phone, XP5S. In 2017, we entered in the IoT space with our XPI. This was a partnership between Intel and AT&T, and we launched that IoT platform at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Next. One of our new mottos that we developed just recently is we serve the people who serve us. This is new with our key focus in public safety, public sector, and serving those that serve us with products that are purpose-built for that space. Next. We talked a little bit about the ultra-rugged category and the reasons why. We are basically formulated our rugged performance standards, or what we call RPS. This is up and beyond your normal 810 specs, your mil-spec type ratings, your IP ratings. The devices that we have are rated at IP69, which is that one step above IP68. IP69 includes sort of this high-pressure wash for any kind of ingress issues. And we measure our IP rating without any kind of covers on any kind of interfaces or jacks. Most people measure their IP ratings on any kind of smartphone platform, usually with covers, interface covers attached, whether it be that a charging cover, whatever. We do it without the covers, which we believe is the right way to do it. Next slide. RPS, what is it? It pushes to the extreme again and beyond. It goes beyond just setting the standards, what's required in the mil-spec standards or IP standards. We take each and every one of those rugged or ultra-rugged categories, and we step above it, whether it be the type of glass we use for our screens, the type of seals that we use to keep water out of the device and so forth, whether it be the mesh material that we use to cover the speakers, for water integrity and so forth. So, next. So the ultra performance or the RPS standards, these categories: dual shift battery life, glove-friendly display, extra loud audio, dust-proof solution, waterproof of the device, drop impact resistance, shock resistance, operational extreme temperatures, pressure resistance, puncture resistance. So these different categories, and the most important, we back it all up by this 3-year comprehensive warranty. Again, we don't care what happens. We're not going to question if the screen is cracked or if the device is smushed or it looks like it got melted by some nuclear energy source. We're going to repair or replace that device, no questions asked. Next. So the hub for public safety, Sonim Technology looks at our smartphone platform more than just a piece of hardware, more than just the end user device. We look at it as a true hub for public safety. So with that, we've actually partnered with over 500 third-party application providers. We have a application partner portal. In that portal, we offer APIs and different type of software solutions. We open up our APIs to get access to our hardware buttons, or our side push-to-talk button, our emergency button, the buttons on the front of the device, the LED that's on top. So all kinds of different hardware aspects to the device platform, the hardware platform, we allow these software developers to get access to as they're developing applications in these key verticals. We also work with key modules. We have an XPand interface on the device in the top, so you can actually install things like gas detectors, third-party sensors, and things like that. So we've opened up that as well to that hardware developer that wants to do a hardware accessory for the device as well. So again, opening up that hub for public safety solutions, both hardware and software. Next. Some of the application partners, these are some of the logos. We have so many more. This is primarily a focus on the public safety sector. But again, we focus on transportation and all different types of other verticals that we focus on. But this is primarily looking at some of the public safety application partners. Next. Some of the things we've done with the state of Colorado, next slide, and we can kind of go over. So the 2015 FIS Alpine World Ski Championships, a lot of learning for me, a lot of learning for our accessory team. We had several different types of accessories, and we learned a lot what worked and what didn't work in the environment. It was, personally, it was a lot of fun for me. I was able to bring my family up and spend some time. Being a CU alum, it was always good to be back and see family that still lives in Colorado. So a lot of fun. We worked with multiple agencies during the event, and we had an IP gateway set up by ESChat at the time. So we're actually working with an IP gateway connected to the LMR service as well. And so again, a huge learning experience, and it was a great experience, and we really appreciate being invited to participate in the event with Colorado. Next slide. This is the state of Colorado. This is the inspection site. This was done, and I think maybe Ed could provide more color than that, but I believe it's basically as the hunters were bringing their game down from the mountains, this was sort of an inspection to see if they had the proper tag and the proper hunting license to be able to have that game with them as they brought it down from I-70 there. And so we set up basically our devices. There was a few applications being used on the devices, and then there was a sort of a miniature cell site there that was put in place, and they were able to get access. And this was also operation on the band 14 spectrum at the time. Next slide. So this is getting a little bit of our portfolio today. So this, as you can see on the left-hand side, is our Sonim XP8. This is our flagship ultra-rugged smartphone platform. It's a 5-inch screen. It runs on Android 7.0, soon to be updated to 8.0. And of course, when 9.0 is available, we'll update to 9.0 as well. XP5S is the next device. This is a feature phone, also runs an Android operating system, but has non-touch. And so we basically enable the software developers out in the world to get access to things like the buttons again, and being able to reduce the screen size of their application, but be able to install it and work with it on this platform as well. Our Sonim XP3, yeah, any questions?
Hey, Bob, I have a question. Could you kind of tell us about the 3 different offerings you have, and you know, what the functionality is as far as why were they designed? Who did you have in mind when you designed them, and what kind of functionality were you getting them? Because if people can't really tell, the XP5, it's actually got the old school buttons where you can actually push the buttons. And then with the XP3, I think our stakeholders would like to know too, what was the thought process behind that, and why are you introducing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting with the XP8 is truly a fully functional smartphone platform. It runs your standard Android operating system. You can go to the Play Store. You log in with your Gmail account. You can actually download applications. just like your normal Android device. It's built around, again, our ultra rugged context and our construct. A very loud speaker, 2 front-firing speakers, has noise cancellation designed and to operate in a very noisy environment. Both output from a audio standpoint, so about 113 decibels of audio, but also have multiple microphones. So you have this noise cancellation going on with multiple microphones. Also designed to have a USB-C connector, so you can actually plug it in for like Ethernet adapters, in-vehicle video displays. You can do things, and then it has separate charging pins, so you can actually take advantage of drop-in charges and things like that. So we designed it around, one, a very robust accessory ecosystem, but truly that is our flagship smartphone platform, and really designed around multi-use and multi-verticals from an industrial standpoint. On our Sonim XP8, this was really designed around push-to-talk, a very push-to-talk centric. It's non-touch. And so if you want to load applications in, you cannot get to this Play Store on the XP8. So what we have, and I'll share that in the presentation, is our Sonim Scout. Our Sonim Scout is free of charge to use. You can actually take an application, an APK file, and store it up there and push it down to your XP8 devices and sort of manage it into, so I don't want to call it an MDM, a mobile device management platform, but it does have some unique features specifically around managing your XP8 devices, managing not only the update of the software that resides on there, but also things like kiosking the device, turning on and off ports and interfaces and things like that. So Scout really manages the XP8. It's, again, non-touch, very push-to-talk centric around those customers that really are looking for either an LMR augmentation or LMR replacement in some cases, where an agency may have, a business and industrial, LMR system, and they really just want to have extended coverage outside that LMR bubble, and this is a nice way to do it with a push-to-talk service. Some of the applications that we support standard by default are things like ES Chat, enhanced push-to-talk from AT&T, push-to-talk from Verizon, and things like that we've already developed around the XP8 screen size and the buttons on the front of the device. So there's a lot of applications that we've already done the work with that software developer to make sure they work on the XP8. On the XP3, believe it or not, the flip phone is not dead yet. There are commercial carriers that actually sell more flip phones today than they actually do sort of the XP8 type, which is the candy bar with the buttons and the feature phone. There's a lot of need for a flip phone. One, it's a smaller size. Two, they like the fact that they can flip it open and it kind of sets against the ear and the mouth, like an old phone would be. They can put it and flip it back together, put it in their pocket. You've got 2 displays. You have a message or a notification display on the front of the flip phone for things like paging, notifications. You can actually look and scroll some emails on there. And then you can flip it open and you have a little larger screen about the same size as the XP8. Again, you have to get through navigation. It's non-touch. But it also has a dedicated push-to-talk button. It has front-firing speakers, and you don't have to flip it open to use the push-to-talk. You can actually take it out of your pocket, hit the push-to-talk button, have complete push-to-talk over cellular communications back and forth, and never even flip the phone open. So it's a nice size. One of the key areas as well where people like it is believe it or not, in the medical field. A lot of hospital nurses are using it now for notification and paging, and yet have it available for push-to-talk as well, if they have a push-to-talk construct in the hospital, which a lot of them, it's becoming more and more of a popular thing now in the hospitals of quick messaging or quick connect or quick voice communications. So that's really around the XP3. So.
Yeah, and we, just to echo what Bob's saying, we still on our ambulances, our medics carry flip phones, and it's a value to us. But I was, thanks for going through that, because I didn't know if a lot of people understood that, a lot of people are still using the flip phone and why.
Yep.
Go ahead. Thanks.
Yep, and no problem. Yeah, and it's not losing any popularity. It's kind of has these lulls, but it's gaining ground again. The next product in the portfolio is what we call our Sonim Rapid Deployable Kit. This Rapid Deployable Kit is a Nanook. We started as a Pelican case. We've moved to a Nanook case, which is just like a Pelican case, and it's a watertight case. It has 4 XP8 Sonim XP8s with rapid chargers. It has a 15.6 amp hour lithium ion battery. It's a split cell design. And what does that mean on a split cell design is you have the 15.6 amp hours, but it has, the capacity meets the TSA threshold for transporting either inside the cab or in the belly of the plane. And we have a TSA certificate for those battery pack units. And so that's good news when you're you know, if you want to put it in the overhead, it does fit in the overhead in most aircraft anyway. Some it doesn't, so you have to definitely check it. It actually comes with a cradle point modem. That cradle point modem does have the band 14 capability in the cradle point modem. It's an IBR 900 that's integrated into the solution. You have a battery monitoring system. Part of the battery monitoring system is a Bluetooth capability. That Bluetooth capability will show up on the Sonim XP8s. So if you're using them within that 300, 400-foot bubble, that Wi-Fi access point bubble from the kit, you can actually get alarms and updates on your battery condition through the application that runs on there that monitors the battery. We have 2 additional USB charging ports on there and a cigarette lighter adapter as well. It does charge in about 4 to 6 hours, fully charge a lithium-ion battery, or you can actually charge it by the vehicle battery or through a solar cell panel, as long as that solar cell panel is 12 volts DC. It has automatic failover that we pre-program in it, and we've tested that with the BGAN Coban 710 using the Inmarsat government satellite service. And so if you lose your CIDR connectivity, that WAN port will automatically basically light up. The LED will let you know that, one, you have no LED on the CIDR side, you've lost your commercial CIDR coverage, and will automatically light up on your WAN light, or the satellite light, and let you know that you're now in WAN failover. And it doesn't have to be the a particular satellite service. If you have VSAT or you have some other WAN connectivity, you basically plug it in to that WAN port on the RDK, and when it's in failover mode, it's going to expect to see data from that WAN port. So it's a very nice, quick deployable type of kit. Again, it provides about a 300 to 400 foot bubble with the existing antennas. You can expand that coverage if you want to put external antennas from the SMA connectors on the RDK panel, and it extends it quite a ways actually. We also have a high performance antenna kit that comes as an option. So if you don't want to use the internal standard antennas, you can actually buy the high performance versions, and they're a little bit taller with more gain. The next product is what we call our Sonim Sled. We're still in a proof of concept with this. We actually shared this at IWCE about 2 years ago, actually a little bit less than 2 years ago, and we actually demonstrated this on VHF P25 conventional. And what it does, it actually attaches to the Sonim XP8, and then we have a GUI on the XP8, and you can actually manage all of your P25 talk groups or channels from the GUI, and it actually supports up to 2 watts of RF power output. So the idea is you carry this as a sled or as an option or as an accessory if you want to use your narrowband assets for either talk around, or if you have a repeater. It does support type 1 and type 2 trunking. It also supports encryption as options, and those are software-enabled options that can be installed and licensed on the sled device. We do plan on putting this through the CAP approval process. We have spoke to DHS about this, so that is the plan today, is to actually put the accessory with the attached XP8 through that CAP program. If there's no questions on the portfolio, we can go to the next. So this is the Sonim XP8. We kind of talked about this. This is, again, our flagship. This is a smartphone platform, a 5-inch screen. It's got a very, very thick piece of glass. So one of our sort of our crazy human tricks that we do is we actually nail or hit a nail with this glass and nail that nail into a piece of 2x4. And so to tell you just how tough it is. Next slide. This is our XP5. Yep.
And just to say too, when we had the FIS World Ski Championship, Bob threw down the gauntlet and told us that we couldn't break one. So if anybody knows the police department there in Vail, we constantly were throwing them off the second floor onto the tile floor, and I think we only were able to chip one of the XP7s, and they are very durable. I think we threw them off that second floor at least 30 times. So anyway, they do stand up. I actually carry an XP8 when I'm working on the fire department, and it lives up to its reputation. It is a very, very tough phone, and it's almost Ed-proof.
Thanks, Ed. We can add that to the RPS settings. We'll just add the button Ed.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. This is the Sonim XP5S. Again, the feature phone, hardware buttons, front-firing speakers, really designed and focused around push-to-talk primarily. Next slide. This is the Sonim XP3. Again, flip phone, ultra-rugged flip phone with the screen on top. And again, the key takeaway for the XP3 is we enable our software partners to basically manage and control both the screen on the top here, notification screen, and the primary screen on this device. And so that way, if they want to push certain notifications from their specific application, we enable them to do that through APIs. Next screen. This is our Sonim RDK, or Rapid Deployment Kit. This has a little bit of more detail, basically its capabilities. Again, the idea is provides about between 6 and 8 hours of use from the lithium-ion battery. And really, it's dependent on what you're running. The other thing that we're building some use cases around this, it has 4 power over Ethernet ports that are on basically an Ethernet switch that's internal as well. You can power up to 25 watts per port. What does that mean? You can actually tie in IP cameras, an IP PBX phone. You can have some different sensors and things. Whatever needs to be powered by power over Ethernet, we deliver up to that 25 watts, which is, again, plenty of power to power IP cameras. And when you do that, obviously, the more wattage you use, the less time you have. But we're trying to build some of those use cases and you know, kind of give best practices documentation when somebody's using the RDK. Next slide. Again, one of the focus that when we learned along the way, and I think part of the learning process was, again, the 2015 FIS Ski Championships. I think we tested about 6 different types of accessories, and believe me, we learned what ones again did not work and where to improve on some other ones. So we actually partnered with some key folks like Klein's, Stone Mountain, Otto, and some of the other ones. With some key headsets. Some of these headsets were designed specifically around our products. Some of the key takeaways from our product as well is we have a screw-down secure audio jack on the side of both the XP5S and the XP8. And today, if you had a remote speaker mic that you had a 3.5 millimeter round connector, most of them have their own battery source. So not only do you have to charge your primary smartphone, but you also have to charge your remote speaker mic if it's wired, because it only provides audio and maybe a push-to-talk pin on the round jack, and it has to provide its own power. So you have to provide charging for both those devices. So we saw that as a terrible thing to have to do, because if you're out in the field and you have to use that remote speaker mic and it's wired to your device and the battery goes dead, you've lost the access to that accessory. And especially if you have your device in a coat and all you have is your RSM and it's wired, then you have to go back and charge that battery. So we've eliminated that completely. So we actually power the device if it requires an amplifier in that accessory from the side connector. So we power everything from the Sonim devices themselves. Next slide. This kind of goes into the secure audio connector we spoke about. It is custom to Sonim. We actually license this to whatever accessory developer that wants to take it on and develop an accessory. We provide all the material, all the IPR to that connector, so you have full access to develop an accessory. It does automatically detect what type of accessory is attached. So if you have a remote speaker mic, if you have some car kit or some other accessory, you have an ID that you actually assign to that accessory, and the Sonim device actually sees that ID and configures the audio path accordingly based on that ID of the accessory. Next slide. Another key accessory that we developed is direct mode. This is off-network communication. It runs on 900 megahertz, the ISM band. That's a license-free band. It's 1 watt output power, which is the legal limit set by the FCC for this 900 megahertz spectrum. It's frequency hopping spread spectrum, so it does have interference mitigation built into it based on the protocol itself, but it doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of 900 megahertz ISM communication elements out there. But we have not found a whole lot of interference issues out and about. There are a lot of devices out there, whether it be phones or walkie-talkie type devices that are running on 900 megahertz ISM because, again, it's license free. But we chose it from a direct mode capability for 1 watt, and we developed software around it. And again, it has some natural interference mitigation properties to the modulation scheme in itself. But again, it works well. We have it both for XP5S and XP8. You can get up to a mile away and have communications from either 1-to-1 or 1-to-many, and you set up your complete talk groups or 1-to-1 communications based on the software. The software is available on the Play Store, so if you went to the Play Store and downloaded the Sonim Direct Mode application, you could download that to your Sonim device.
And Bob, a question about this. Next year, do you have on the docket relays? As some companies are using relays to give a greater distance between devices, or is it just solely device to device without relay?
No, so we're working on a mesh relay for these 900 megahertz ISM. The mesh relay is being developed by one of our accessory partners, and it would take basically this direct mode accessory from, let's say, an XP8 to an XP5S. It would go through another 900 megahertz ISM type of relay, and it would relay that signal back to another device, and it could relay again and again. So you could have this sort of mesh network capability based on it. So you would have a pretty good extended range out of it by several miles. So we are working on that to have something like that next year to have. Yeah.
And how are you planning on powering those relays?
The relays would be powered by lithium-ion batteries that you'd have to recharge, or you could power directly from a 12 volts wall adapter.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob, quick question.
Sure.
About security of your direct mode. Do you have any over-the-air security protocols that you've implemented, or have you partnered with folks that can provide that on an application level?
Yes, we have. we have partnered with folks like Secure Communications and some other ones that have sort of either a secure communication suite. So they may combine voice, MMS, SMS messaging, and it's fully encrypted and FIPS 140 approved as an application that resides on our phone. We also have some that will basically encrypt anything that's from sort of data in motion on the device as well. So we'd be more than happy to kind of provide you with some of those partnerships that we have, but they've already been sort of vetted on our device. We've tested them in great detail, and they work quite well.
Since we're at a break, anybody else have any questions for Bob concerning anything we've seen yet? Hearing none, the floor is still yours, okay. Bob.
All right, next slide. A little bit about the audio accessories. These are the sort of some remote speaker mics that we have partnered with some accessory vendors on. So this is Klein and Stone Mountain. You'll see on the right is the Stone Mountain. This is a channel select version of the remote speaker mic. So once you connect this to the Sonim device, it recognizes it as a channel select version of remote speaker mic. And based on the push-to-talk application, as you move this round knob, it actually will select those talk groups for you, just like a round rotary knob on a standard LMR type of radio. And again, we open up that protocol to whatever software vendor wants to do it. And it doesn't have to be push to talk. If you want to use the rotary knob for accessing pictures or images or short messaging or anything else, you can use that channel select module however you feel you need to within your application construct. Next slide. Again, audio accessories, these are sort of over the ear, in the ear, around the ear type of accessories. So these are the client accessories we work with today, and they all basically have our integrated secure audio connection already pre-attached to it. Next slide. This is our Bluetooth remote speaker mic and a wired PTT smart button. And so the buttons can be programmed again to access the device. If you want to access the camera and have the other button, shoot the image, you can do that with these two buttons. You can use them for push to talk. It has a red button on the remote unit for emergency. The remote speaker mic, it's one of the best Bluetooth speaker mics I've ever used, from a voice quality standpoint, but also the fact that they've taken advantage of our open APIs, and they've actually, you can actually change talk groups or channels or other things within the application based on the right and left button or the button to answer a phone call. So if you're in a push-to-talk call, you can hit the phone button and answer your phone call. Once you hang up, you're back in PTT mode. So, and then you have two buttons. You have a button on the top, trigger, and a button. You can program either one. Maybe the top button is one application for one PTT application, and the bottom one maybe triggers the camera or triggers another PTT application. So the use behind this is quite nice once it's programmed and fitted for the application use. Next slide. Some of the dispatch accessories, this is just one of several that we have for our devices for both the XP5S and the XP8. This happens to be a desktop version. The device would go in, it would charge. You can actually pick it up and use it to your ear. It's sort of more of a private call, or if it's hung up, you have a speaker mode and you have a push-to-talk button on the desktop unit itself, and you can have push-to-talk calls go on in more of a speaker mode context. Next slide. Some of the car kits that we have passive and active car kits. The active car kits that we have today are from Advanced Tech and from GPS Lockbox. The device goes in, it has a amplified speaker, a volume control, an LMR type of a microphone, and basically you can either lock it in there and it stays in there. We have a lot of school bus districts and the school districts out there that manage their devices and leave them in the school buses and lock them in literally with a miniature little padlock, but they keep the devices permanently in those buses year-round. We have the passive car kits. The passive car kits are on a pan device with a specialized bracket that fits the XP5S or the XP8, and then they can have a charger, sort of charger cable, clamp on, and you can have it permanently mounted into your cigarette lighter adapter in your vehicle. Next slide. A little bit deeper dive into the RDK. We'll go to the next slide then. Some of the features I kind of already explained about the TSA approved battery, basically the Bluetooth enabled lithium-ion battery monitoring system, the Cradle Point wireless modem, and the ultra rugged case. This comes standard with a 2-year warranty on the RDK, and of course the 3-year warranty on the Sonim XP8s. It does ship today through the AT&T Speed Portal, but it will operate on any commercial carrier that the Cradle Point modem operates on. So it can operate on most of any of the commercial carriers today. It has different type of circuit protection, so the battery doesn't overheat. You can't overcharge it because it's not only battery protected, but we also have a breaker on the panel as well. It supports 2 SIM cards, so it supports the redundant SIMs, or if you have 2 SIM cards, you can actually program the Cradle Point modem to look at either SIM 1 or SIM 2 as a priority SIM slot. And then if you have loss of coverage in one and you've enabled the other modem on there, you can actually fall over to the other SIM card in the unit. So it's a huge advantage to have them exposed on the panel, so you don't have to obviously open up the panel and put them into the Cradle Point. They're exposed on the top of the panel. Next slide. I think we kind of discussed a little bit about the option. We have our direct mode modules, which is the 1 watt 900 ISM. Again, this is our proof of concept sled. We call it the Sonim LMR Enhanced Detachable. This has basically a customized P25 module that goes on the back in the sled, and as it's attached to the XP8, it provides, again, full P25 capability. If you want to program it for TAC channels or repeater channels or trunking channels, you can do so. And it will come in 3 different bandwidths. It will VHF, UHF, and 7/800 megahertz. We don't have a multi-band, unfortunately, but you kind of pick the band that you're looking for, and you choose that particular accessory module for that sled module. Again, we'll put this through the CAP lab, whatever process that takes to try to get that approved. And we support different signalings and like NBC 1200 for conventional. So your typical normal P25, if you had sort of a mid-tier, low-tier P25 handheld product today, the things that you could program with that device, you'd be able to program those same types of features in this sled module as well. Any questions on the sled module at all, or the RDK kit?
Bob, so what was the use case or the driver behind the development of the EDK?
So the RDK, the remote development.
The RDK.
Yeah, the RDK.
Yeah.
So we were looking at two reasons. One, somebody wanted something that we had agencies who were asking us, can you have is there a kit out there that has chargers that will charge it? And there were some kits out there that had a USB charger, but you still had to have the cable plugged into the device. What people were looking for is something to say, yeah, I want to open this up, drop in, your handheld into a charger, be able to charge it from the battery, be able to have an access point, Wi-Fi access point on the commercial carrier network, and have a failover mode, or if I had a VGAN satellite transceiver there, whatever I had in the VSAT, whatever I had. And then there was some automation done. So if the cow or colt were to show up, let's say you lost your site or coverage, this was the ability to provide some level of coverage until your cow or colt showed up. We're provided better coverage. In other words, if you could get out and point, with antennas, an external antenna, and have this kit provide an AP bubble, or provide an AP bubble down in a canyon or something where you couldn't get site or coverage, but I could get Wi-Fi coverage back into a canyon or down by a river or something, but I could get back to this commercial site network with my RDK kit. And so it provides sort of that bubble, that extension, for lapse of coverages where it would help. And also the ability to provide some satellite failover as well. The other thing that go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a follow-up question after you're finished there. If we had multiple RDK kits, could you bubble to bubble to increase the range?
Yep. So yes, we can. So we have we are working with a mesh networking company today. And we're validating that, and you can connect that one RDK to another RDK to another RDK, which is finally connected to the commercial network, and you can have that connected in the WAN port. And again, it would automatically fail over to that connected mesh network solution, and then you can connect back to multiple RDKs to extend the coverage back into an area. Absolutely.
Does anyone else have any questions on the RDK or anything that's been discussed so far?
Nope. And nothing on the sled. We can go to the next slide. No questions so far? Nope. So the next slide is the connected car solution. This is something we're working on. This is again a proof of concept. Sonim Technologies has joined what they call the Connected Car Consortium. And what this is it uses a standard, an open standard called MirrorLink. And MirrorLink is something like sort of data casting, or something like Wi-Fi Direct, or mirror casting that's sort of available on most phones today. You can go and mirrorcast on a mirrorcast-enabled television. Or rather, what MirrorLink does, it takes it to the next step. MirrorLink provides a bi-directional approach to mirroring everything that's on my device. So when I connect it either through a wired connection or a wireless connection, I can actually transition whatever's on my screen, let's say on my XP8, and now it's in a larger screen in my vehicle. And so how does that help me? Well, if I have a laptop or I have a tablet, and then I have a connection or a vehicle modem in the back of my car, I have multiple subscriptions that cost money for each vehicle. So I have the person that's driving the vehicle, a vehicle modem in the back of the trunk, and maybe I have a connected modem card in my tablet or my laptop. And into some areas, a lot of agencies said if I could reduce that to either one subscription or even 2 subscriptions, it would save me a great deal of money. If you had that multiplier, if you had tens of thousands of vehicles, you could save money on. And your handheld, your smartphone becomes your computing device. You have your applications, your data, your storage, your cloud connectivity. Everything becomes part of that smartphone handheld unit, that data system that you have on that handheld. So when you get into your vehicle, the idea that we have, and we demonstrated this at APCO, this last APCO, is you get in close proximity into the vehicle, you automatically detect the vehicle's close proximity, the mirror link connection happens, and now whatever I have on my smartphone screen is mirrored into my vehicle, let's say on a 10-inch screen in the middle of the dash. And now I have full touch access on that 10-inch screen, equal to what I have on my smartphone device, but everything is in a much larger format, obviously. And now I can do things like fill out forms. I can run wants and warrants if I wanted to. I can do some mapping and a large-scale mapping. I can get access to assets back in my server platform through an encrypted connection on my smartphone. When I leave my vehicle, I can take all that now with me in my handheld device, and I could do something that's very similar if I go to my desk. There's a competitor of ours that does it today. I think they call their solution a DEX solution. And it's something similar. I don't believe it uses the MirrorLink technology, which again is a standard. If somebody wants to go to MirrorLink, I think .org or the Connected Car Consortium, they can read all about MirrorLink and its technologies. A lot of the European car manufacturers have enabled MirrorLink. There's a lot of smartphone devices that already have MirrorLink enabled by default today. A lot of those are wired devices only, so you have to plug in your USB charging adapter in your vehicle to make that happen. And the idea is to standardize it across, not only the automotive space, but also try to standardize this within public safety, where you can actually mirror the technology on a smartphone platform. So that's kind of what we're doing. And again, it's a proof of concept mode, and we're working with some agencies in Southern California in trying to promote this and put together some pilots to people that want to try this out, because again, we're trying to build use cases. Does it make sense? Does it work? Will it work in their everyday use? We don't want something to be a novelty. Obviously, we want to provide some usefulness in what we're trying to do from a technology standpoint. Any questions on what we're doing, the connected car or MirrorLink from a standard?
It's pretty exciting. Do you have any projections on when you would like to see this technology deployed in the field?
We'd like to see it by the end of 2019. We'd like to see some agencies actually adopting it. We're gonna start our pilot sometime in the March timeframe with some agencies that will actually be placing it into their public safety vehicles. So they'll take a Sonim XP8, they'll be mounting it into their vehicles, and they'll be running those pilots with real-time applications. And those applications could be CAD, RMS applications, or everyday type applications they use when they're doing their everyday job.
To me, this seems like a really important technology. Even at our fire department, we've done this for. We used to have just a static connection, so a guy would have to bring a computer down, and he would have to, plug it into an HDMI cable. And we actually went to the equivalent of MirrorLink, so that now we just have a module, and anybody who has the access to it can get in there and they can display whatever's on the device. So it's helped us immensely just from a training standpoint, because rather than tell people what an application I'm using looks like, I can actually pull up my device and I can show them what it was, or if I needed to show them a picture of an accident. And so I think there are probably a lot of use cases out there. Maybe some of you can think of some and can get in touch with Bob, and I'm certainly sure that Bob would be more than happy if you're interested, your agency, to help him with the testing that they're doing. Any other
Absolutely.
questions?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. Yeah. If there's an agency that's interested in running a pilot with us, absolutely contact me or you, Ed, directly, and more than happy to get that agency connected in our pilot program.
And I've gone ahead and switched it over. There is Bob's contact information. And as we close this Lunch and Learn, does anybody else have any other questions for Bob? Bob's a tremendous resource. He's a wealth of knowledge. Anytime I'm stuck on what technology means or what this or that means, I always go to Bob. Any other questions?
Hey, Ed, Steve Cabellis. No questions
Hey,
for
Steve.
Bob, but are we going to get copies of these slides?
Yes, sir. We will actually have this posted up on the website. We will also have a PDF of the presentation. And Bob, I'll make sure that I send you a copy directly.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Appreciate it.
Any questions for Bob? Well, Bob, we want to thank you for your time today. I know that you're in our lovely city and you're busy, so we appreciate you taking the time out to join us today. And if anybody is interested in Sonim Technologies, the great stuff that they're doing, as you can see, there's Bob's contact information. You can certainly call me at any point, and I would be more than happy to connect you with Bob. And also some of the use cases that how we've used the technology. Again, I want to remind you as we close today that there is a wealth of information at broadband.co.gov, and we encourage you to go there. And if you haven't been on our website, please go in there and take a look around. The presentations such as today can be found on our YouTube channel. And anyway, it's been a privilege and a pleasure to have Sonim Technologies in this Lunch and Learn. Just a little shout out for our next one. Next Lunch and Learn will be on the, I already forgot the date, I think it's the 4th. While Sarah is looking that up for me, I shouldn't have mentioned anything without knowing for sure. Let me tell you about who is going to be presenting. We will have a very exciting demonstration of what Wilson Electronics, you may have heard, it's a company called, or a product called WeBoost. And Sarah's telling me that is the 3rd at noon again. And it'll be the same information that you dialed in today. But the company on the 3rd is WeBoost, and they have products that are designed for public safety to extend coverage. One of the things that I really like about WeBoost is that it's carrier agnostic, and so it doesn't matter whether you have Verizon or Sprint or FirstNet or AT&T or T-Mobile. Your device, whatever it is, the WeBoost will give you up to 32 times greater coverage than what you had previously. So anyway, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate your participation, and we hope you can join us on the 3rd. And until next time, take care.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it.